Win a Pageant, episode 86. You're ready to win your pageant and you need a strategy to help. Well, you're in the right place. Every Wednesday, I post a new episode. Click subscribe if you don't want to miss any of your trainings. Let's win a pageant. Hey girl, welcome to another episode of the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm your coach, Alycia Darby. Now, as you know, pageant interview can be one of the most nerve-wracking parts of the entire pageant. You have got to loosen up a bit before your pageant interview so that you can perform in the best way possible. Tricks like imagining the judges naked or something does not really work because it really is just designed to distract you, and we don't want you to be distracted during your interview. You actually need your mind to make your interview work. So today, I want to share with you 5 tips to loosen up in your pageant interview and connect with your judges. Tip number 1 is to serve, love, and give more than you try to take. Now, anytime that we shift our focus to serving rather than being served, to loving rather than being loved, and to giving rather than receiving, we really regain a sort of power. It's like going from being a junior counselor at summer camp, for example. If you were to just totally abuse that privilege, then they would absolutely send you home. But if instead you become just the best darn counselor at that camp, you're serving everyone, you're loving everyone, and you're giving more than you are receiving, next year they're going to promote you. Women want to walk out of their interview room feeling like the judges have served them the best questions and oohed and awed over their great personality and given them 10s on the way out, right? But if you want to be a 10, then you've got to be a true 10. That means you've got to serve them the answers that they need. You've got to love the questions that they ask, no matter how silly or crazy they may sound. And you've got to give them your generous approval. Everybody wants to be loved, including your judges. So you really want to make them feel like $1,000,000. That absolutely will take the pressure off of you. The second tip for you is to assume the best of your judges instead of assuming the worst. Now, it's natural in pageantry to make assumptions about everything, especially if you haven't had formal pageant training or coaching. It is really easy to assume all sorts of wacky things to try to explain why you did how you did. And usually these assumptions come from a place of fear. And remember, we never want to operate from fear. If a judge, for example, is like looking out the window the entire time you're speaking, you automatically are thinking like, oh, they don't like what I'm saying, or they're not connecting to me, or I can't pull them in, or something like that, okay? Stop thinking that, okay? Do not assume the worst. Instead, just be you and assume the best. When we start telling ourselves all kinds of stories about why that judge is looking out the window and it's because they don't like me and they had it out for me since the very beginning or something like this crazy kind of talk, then it throws you off for the entire remainder of the interview and for all of the other judges and potentially for the rest of the entire competition. So instead of doing that, if a judge is looking out the window the entire interview, instead of assuming the worst, I want you to assume that this woman just has 2 lazy eyes that just happen to be looking to the left a little bit. And really, she was just looking at you, glued to you, absorbing everything the entire time, okay? When you assume the best about people, you're going to react from a place of love and of beauty instead of fear. And love and beauty are always more attractive. Tip number 3, I want you to smile more and laugh at least once. Now, you got to remember that you are the leader in your pageant interview. So if you're smiling and laughing and having a great time, your judges are naturally going to follow suit. Every pageant girl wants to make the judges laugh and light up in some way. And in fact, the judges want that too. You do not have to be a comedian to say something worthy of cracking a little giggle either, okay? Just a little giggle can go a long way to break the tension in the room and to make everyone feel more comfortable. Tip number 4, slow down. It is not a race. Your pageant interview is more like coaxing a deer at a petting zoo to eat a little bit of grain out of your hand, okay? So you can't overwhelm the situation. You've got to stick your hand out there with a sweet little treat. You've got to make yourself vulnerable, but not rush it. Everybody has the same amount of time in the interview. And if you come off as rushing through your answers or hurrying to get out of the room, then you're going to just appear anxious. So instead, before you walk in, I want you to take a deep, slow breath and assume responsibility for the pace of the questions. Prepare to use some inflection in your voice. Be thoughtful in where you use your pauses, and be welcoming to some sidebars that might guide them into eating out of your hands, okay? Take your time. When they do get there, everyone will be settled in. And tip number 5 is practice, practice, practice. The only way to get super great at anything is by spending more hours doing that thing. Now, of course, girls do win pageants on their first try, but that doesn't mean that they're truly great at the craft. In fact, for many of them, they end up going to states or nationals and becoming totally overwhelmed because they were unprepared to begin with. You've probably heard the saying before, or maybe you've even said it yourself, that being a title holder is really a job. Well, you have got to work like it's yo job, girl, okay? You have got to schedule mock interviews every month. You've got to put yourself on a media tour, listen and filter feedback from a variety of people, and train as though you are like receiving a degree in pageantry, okay? This is the Olympics, all right? I want your skis on every day, okay? Practicing is going to help you gain confidence and poise for when it's time for the real deal. And that, my dear, is how you win a pageant. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hey, if you are learning a ton and truly benefiting from these podcast trainings, would you be willing to write a review on iTunes for me? Your review will encourage others to listen to the podcast, but it's also going to help keep us as the #1 pageant podcast, which of course will make me smile from ear to ear. So I would be so grateful to read your kind words on iTunes. If you've got it, really would only take about 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how much you really want to write. And all you have to do is go to winapageant.com/iTunes, or if you go to the search button in the podcast app, you can search for Win a Pageant. Just click on reviews, write a review, and then leave a rating. And I hope that I am worthy of your 5-star rating and a delightful review. Thank you so much, beautiful. I truly appreciate your help with that. I will talk to you next week on Win a Pageant Wednesday. Hey there, I'm Alycia Darby, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching that last video. If you totally loved it and got something from it, would you just click subscribe right here to subscribe to our YouTube channel? Hey, I am here for you, and I've got so many more trainings and videos for you. In fact, this one would be a really great one to watch next. Or if that topic doesn't interest you, then try this one. It's my most recent video training. So I think both of these would be really great for you. Thank you again so much for subscribing. I am honored to be your coach. I'll see you again soon.